In the 17th and 18th centuries, Islamic art reached a peak of excellence in three great empires: the Ottomans, Safavids, and Mughals. Some of the finest Islamic architecture dates from this period, and ceramics and the art of the book also flourished. After an age during which the Islamic world was ruled by many disparate dynasties and invaders, such as the Mongols, there followed a period of stability under the three empires that emerged in this region in the early 16th century. The first of these, the Ottoman Empire, stretched from Turkey to Tunisia, while the Safavid Empire ruled in Iran, and the Mughals in India. The arts thrived in the prosperity of these empires, developing a distinctive regional style. Origins and influences. In Turkey and Persia, there was already a long Islamic artistic tradition, in architecture and the decorative arts in particular, and under the Ottomans and Safavids they continued to flourish. However, other arts also became important. The arts of the book were adopted or secular themes. For example, an illustration of manuscripts prompted the beginnings of a mainstream Islamic tradition of representational art. Crafts such as ceramics, textiles, paper, and jewellery were also important means of artistic expression across the Islamic world. The artistic developments of each empire influenced those of its neighbours, but as well as this, cross-fertilization. The influence of Chinese porcelain and decoration can be seen in Turkish and Persian ceramics, and Mughal illustration shows elements of both European and Hindu art. Madrasi Madarai Shah, Isfahan, Iran, early 17th century. Art and architecture of unsurpassed magnificence can be seen in the mosques and palaces of cities such as Isfahan and Istanbul, and the Mughal Taj Mahal, c. 291. Islamic art. Ottoman. Turkey to Tunisia, c. 1300-1932. The longest surviving of the Islamic empires, the Ottoman era saw Turkey emerge as a major center of Islamic art. Its architecture, based on Byzantine models, came to international prominence in the work of Sinan, 1489–1588, whose 50-year career included the Selmai Mosque in Edirne and the Süleyman Mosque in Istanbul, and his apprentices went on to build Istanbul's famous Blue Mosque and the Taj Mahal in Mogul India. Turkey became famous too for fine ceramics and crafts such as jewellery, carpets, and paper marbling. Influenced by Persian manuscript illumination, artists also created illustrated books, such as the two Books of Festivals. Jug with red decoration. The Turkish town of Luznik became a center of ceramic production in the Ottoman Empire, famous for the distinctive Luznik red used in painted decorations. Turkish School, 16th century, earthenware, Hanley Museum and Art Gallery, Staffordshire, UK. Tile with two parrots complementing the magnificent Ottoman architecture. Turkish ceramicists produced decorated tiles as well as pottery. These were often finely decorated with geometric designs featuring floral, vegetal, and animal motifs. Turkish, Iznik, 17th century, ceramic tile, Fitzwilliam Museum, University of Cambridge, UK. The forces of Suleiman the Magnificent besieging a Christian fortress. Manuscript illumination under the Ottoman Empire, influenced by Safavid art, evolved into an art of book illustration, generally on historical themes depicting the exploits of emperors such as Suleiman I and the expansion of the empire. From the Hunaname by Lockman, 1588, gouache on paper, Topkapi Palace Museum, Istanbul, Turkey. Safavid. Iran, c. 1501–1786. The Safavid Empire differed from the Ottomans and Mughals in several respects. Importantly, its Shahs were Shia rather than Sunni, and as well as a strong artistic tradition dating back to pre-Islamic times, it had absorbed many Chinese and Mongol elements after the conquests by Timur in the 14th century. Between 1501 and 1786, when the Safavids lost power to the Oghur dynasty, Persia enjoyed a golden age of artistic achievement. In cities such as Isfahan, architecture flourished under Shah Abbas the Great, and the ceramic industry thrived, inspired by Chinese porcelain. However, the finest art was to be found in illuminated manuscripts of secular narrative poetry, particularly Ferdowsi's epic Shahnameh. As with Persian miniatures, these book illustrations incorporated elements of Central Asian art, marking the start of a new style of representational painting within Islamic art. The Persian prince Humayun meeting the Chinese princess Humayun in a garden. The Timurid dynasty in the 15th century produced fine manuscript illustrators, who worked for aristocratic patrons. Iranian, Timurid school, c. 1450, gouache on paper, Musée des Arts Décoratifs, Paris, France. Closer look. Oriental influences. The delicately detailed depiction of the flowers and trees shows an Eastern influence, in contrast with the distinctively Islamic portrayal of geometric architectural features and decorative calligraphy. Ceiling of the Palace of Hash-Behesht, 8 Paradises. When Isfahan became capital of the Safavid dynasty, Shah Abbas I initiated a massive program of building. The domed palaces and mosques built in the following 2 centuries featured huge spaces and were lavishly decorated with mosaic. Safavid dynasty, 16th to 17th century, Isfahan, Iran. Princess sitting in a garden. The Islamic restrictions on representational art did not apply to secular buildings, which in addition to traditional mosaic and arabesque decoration, were adorned with paintings similar in style to Persian book illustration. Safavid dynasty, 17th century, fresco, Palace of Chehel Sultan, 40 columns, Isfahan, Iran. Zal being rescued by the mythical Simurgh from a copy of Shahnameh. Individual illustrations were considered as works of art in their own right, and were later collected in albums known as Mahaka. Safavid dynasty, late 16th century, gouache and watercolor on paper, Chester Beatty Library, Dublin. Mogul India. India, 1526 to 1707. Babur founded of the great Mughal dynasty in Delhi in 1526. He was a poet and warrior. King descended from Tamerlane, the Turco-Mongol conqueror of West and Central Asia. In India, Mughals continued the tradition of building mosques, palaces, and majestic tombs that had been started 300 years earlier.
The Mughals brought perfection to this art, the culmination of a long Islamic tradition that became more and more rooted in the rich and older indigenous culture. Each Mughal ruler constructed a grandiose new capital and graced the empire with the breathtaking beauty of royal tombs like the Taj Mahal at Agra. Mughal architecture was born from a mixture of Persian, Turkish, and Indian traditions, but in painting the Persian influence was more direct. The second Mughal, Humayun, was forced into Persian exile, but when he returned to India in 1555 he brought 2 Persian masters, Mir Syed Ali and Abd al-Samad, to establish a Mughal atelier. Humayun died suddenly, but his 14-year-old son Akbar not only extended and consolidated the empire, he set about creating the dynastic archives. The Akbarnama, Book of Akbar, written in Persian by Abul Fayzi, recorded his military triumphs and heroic exploits. Akbar's first surviving child became Emperor Jahangir. The 5th Mughal, Shah Jahan, traveled all over the empire with his 3rd wife, Mumtaz Mahal, rather than be separated from her. On her death he created the perfectly proportioned Taj Mahal, an elegy in white marble to his beloved wife. His conciliatory attitude to the Rajputs and his fascination with their culture led to the Mughal innovations in art and architecture being rapidly reflected throughout the empire. Akbar tames the savage elephant, Hawaii, outside the Red Fort at Agra in a dramatic narrative painting from the Akbarnama by Basawan and Chattai. Akbar keeps his hold on the charging elephant, Hawaii, with an elephant hook as the demented animal crashes over a pontoon bridge of boats on leaving Agra, sending attendants diving into the river Jumna. This is the left-hand page of a double illustration. C. 1590, gouache on paper, 34.5 times 21.7 centimeters, British Museum, London, UK. Closer look. The strength of Akbar. The painting shows the moment when the matting rips and pontoon boats shoot out of the water as elephants dash across the river. Akbar, renowned for his strength and battlefield coolness, thrusts his feet under the neck strap and hangs onto the hook sunk in the elephant's hide. Akbar assisting in the quarrel of the ascetics here. Akbar intervenes in an ascetic's quarrel in the Akbarnama. The organized chaos of the scene again shows the mastery of space in a condensed narrative painting by Bashawan. C. 1590, gouache on paper, Victoria and Albert Museum, London, UK. Dying in Ayat Khan/he former paymaster of the Imperial Cavalry, Inayat Khan, was sketched in 1618 on Jahangir's orders after he was carried to the palace dying from addiction to opium and wine. In his memoirs, Jahangir recorded his astonishment at the deterioration in the once proud officer and close advisor. The sketch and subsequent painting are a unique realist record and a cruel portrait. An inscription on the edge of the painting in Jahangir's successor Shah Jahan's hand attributes the work to Balkand, a renowned Indian miniaturist, 1596 to 1640, who had a long career in the Mughal atelier. 1618-19, in Khan light wash on paper, 9.3 by 13. 3 centimeters, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, U.S. Emperor Jahangir holding a portrait of Emperor Akbar. Portrait painting was an important part of the Mughals' dynastic archive. This genre had been previously unknown in Persia and India. The early portraits are detailed, focused on courtly robes and jewellery, and are often somewhat wooden. Here, Jahangir shows his affection for the new genre by having himself portrayed holding a portrait of his father, Akbar. 17th century, gouache on paper, Musée Guimet, Paris, France. Squirrels on a plane tree. The red squirrels, not native to India, that race about a plane tree, depicted in autumn colors, attest to European influence in this celebrated piece by the renowned portrait painter Abu Hassan. C. 1610, gouache on paper, 36.2 times 22.5 centimeters, British Library, London, UK. In context. Taj Mahal. The masterpiece of Mughal art is the Taj Mahal at Agra. The tomb of Shah Jahan and his wife Mumtaz Mahal rises in perfect symmetry in a 300 square meter formal garden with sunken flower beds and raised marble tanks. Its shimmering white marble facades, inlaid with jasper, are crowned with a high bayed arch and a raised dome amid 4 elegant, towering minarets. Royal tomb completed around 1650 by Shah Jahan. The Taj Mahal stands at the end of a canal that runs through a walled garden. Under the 61-meter dome, the royal tombs are set behind carved marble screens inlaid with precious stones. Aurangzeb hunting lions. The Mughal Aurangzeb locked up his sick and aging father Shah Jahan in his Agra palace and seized the throne in 1658. Aurangzeb was a ruthless general and no patron of the arts. As a consequence, the masters of the imperial workshop soon dispersed to the surrounding Rajput courts. However, the dynastic portrait tradition lingered on, as in this scene of Aurangzeb hunting lion. C. 1670-80, Vellum, Chester Beatty Library, Dublin, Ireland.